Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today we are going to talk about the 25 books that I really want to read in 2025. I have loosely divided these, meaning I took about 10 seconds to divide these into 4 categories. So to start off, we're going to start with Book of the Month books that I've had for quite some time. There are 3. And the first one I have already started. I'm almost done actually with it, and it is Heartless Hunter by Kristin Ciccarelli. This is Crimson Moth book 1. It's also known as Crimson Moth in some places, but this is a young adult romantasy following Rune, who is a witch, but nobody knows except for her best friend. And she is trying to set free all of the witches that are being captured by the Blood Guard. Gideon is part of the Blood Guard, and he is the brother of Rune's best friend, Alex. And it's a little bit of a love triangle. That's not true. It's wildly a love triangle. And as Rune and Gideon get closer for strategic reasons on both of their sides, they also maybe start developing real feelings for each other. So I'm really excited to finish this one, and I feel really good about the fact that I'm already almost done with one of these books. Next, we have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. And this says, her fate is inked in her blood, it's carved in her bones. This power is Freya's destiny. So this, I believe, is a Norse-inspired romantasy, I want to say. The little blurb on the inside says, a shield maiden blessed by the gods battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king while fighting her growing desire for his fiery son in this Norse-inspired fantasy romance. So I am really excited to get to this. I have not yet read a Danielle L. Jensen book, but I also have The Bridge Kingdom, so hopefully I will like this one, and then I'll just want to read everything else that I have by her. The third Book of the Month book that I've had for quite some time, I want to say August 2023. Ooh, that's what it says on the back, August 2023. So I need to read this year, and it is Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. This is a gothic tale. It's vampires and there's some romance in it, and I have been saying I wanted to read this and I'm excited to read it for so long, and that's still true, but I really need to read it, and I don't know what's gonna get me to read it, but I just know that it has to be done. So there's that one. Okay, my next category is romance, or romance with some fantasy elements to it. Not fantasy romance, but you'll see. The first one is actually a classic, and this is the only classic I've put on this list, but I do have some other classics that I want to get to this year, so that's a separate list of its own. The one that I put on this list is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, and I have watched the adaptation of this with Richard Armitage, and I really enjoyed it, especially that ending. So I would really like to read the book. I know a lot of people love this book. I mean, it's a classic for a reason, and so I really would like to get to this one. I just have a feeling that I'm gonna like it. The next romance I have is a bit of a seasonal one, so I probably won't be reading this until December, but it is Snowed In for Christmas, and it says, the fire's aglow, so let it snow. So I think I put this on another list of mine, and it's like, this is just the year that I need to read the books that I've put on my anticipated reads lists before and actually read them. Okay, so you're gonna hold me accountable, we're all gonna hold each other accountable, and everything's gonna be great, and we're gonna just accomplish our goals this year in 2025, okay? Okay, this one is about sorority mom Becca Fairfield and a football coach. They get trapped together in like a house or a lodge, and his name is Harrison, And, you know, I don't expect too much from my Christmas romances, but I feel like this one is gonna be cozy and cute, and I just feel like I'm gonna have a good time with it. So can't wait for December to read this. Okay, next we have the only book by this author that I have not yet read, and that is Abby Jimenez's book, Life's Too Short. I have read every other book that Abby Jimenez has written, and I have loved them all, especially Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and Just for the Summer. Yours Truly is my favorite, but I liked the first two books in this series, and so this year I would love to read Life's Too Short to complete the series. And just to note, I would recommend reading them in order. If you're questioning whether you should read them in order, I would definitely say that you should. But this one is following Vanessa, who quit her job to pursue her dream of traveling the globe. She wasn't expecting to gain millions of YouTube followers who shared her joy of seizing every moment. But then Vanessa is left with custody of her sister's baby daughter, which kind of throws a wrench into her life. And then she meets Adrian Copeland, who is the hot lawyer next door. So I'm really looking forward to this. I feel like her writing just gets better and better. So this being the third book in her first series, I'm really excited to see how this one goes. Now we have Daydream, which is the third novel in the Maple Hills series by Hannah Grace. And the first two books were Icebreaker and Wildfire. I liked Wildfire more than Icebreaker, but I heard a lot of good things about this one. This book is following Henry, who is a character who appears in the first two books. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I like the cover. I love that we've got books in the background. It's giving good vibes. So hopefully I will really like this one as well. All right, so these next two books are a little bit witchy, but they have some romance to them as well. And the first one is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sanguine Donna. And this is about Mika Moon, who is a witch. And like the other witch book I talked about, she is also hiding her magic. But she, I believe, runs a YouTube channel where she uses her magic, but she plays it off like it's just magic like we would expect, like she's a magician or something. So I think there's also a found family aspect to this, so I'm really looking forward to this one. This is another one that, like a lot of these, I have owned for a long time. I've really wanted to read, and for some reason I just haven't picked it up, but this is the year, I truly believe it, that I am going to check some of these off of my list. So really looking forward to this one. And the next one is one I haven't had for as long because it just came out last year, and it is Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. This is just stunning. I love this cover. I love everything about this. I also love the inside. We've got stars, and the cover of the actual book is just so beautiful. So I cannot wait to read this. This is about Belladonna Blackthorn. With found family, a dash of romance, and an uplifting message about self-love, Rewitched is a cozy autumnal fantasy that will leave readers spellbound. So this just sounds so cozy, so sweet. I really like Lucy Jane Wood. I've followed her for a while on Instagram and YouTube, and I am really looking forward to reading this one. And this is the start of a series, so she's currently working on the second book, I believe, as well. So this one just looks really sweet. All right, the next category, loose category, is books I've been meaning to read for a really long time, and I've owned them for an equally long amount of time, if that makes sense. So the first one on the list is Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I have read Anxious People, A Man Called Uva, and Every Day the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. I'm so sorry, I think I butchered that, but it's very short and it's very sad. I still think that Anxious People is my favorite, but I just know that I will like this. I just know that I will. I know that it's sad. I know that there's some very serious stuff that happens in here, but Fredrik Backman's writing is so good, and the way he handles those difficult topics is just very gentle, I feel like, and he also is funny, and I just feel like I'm gonna like this book. So I just need the right time to read it, and I don't know when that's gonna be. I feel like it does suit winter, so we shall see. I actually did start this book maybe 2 years ago, and my bookmark is still in here. It's on page 136. So I got like a significant way through this book, and but I think it was the summer and it just wasn't the right time to be reading it. Like, I was out on the deck and it was so hot, and I was listening to this book that just felt like very wintry. So I think maybe that was the problem. So maybe this winter is the time to get to this one. We shall see. The next one is a fantasy, and I actually don't know that much about it, but I kind of don't want to. It is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I'm sure you've heard of this. I'm sure you probably know all about it. This is a trilogy. It's part of the Broken Earth trilogy, and I feel like there are some twists and turns that happen in here, and so I really don't want to know too much before I go into it. But I'm excited to test this one out and see if I like it. Hopefully I do, and then hopefully I'll want to continue with the series. But yeah, just very intrigued by this one. I feel like it's kind of like serious and a little bit lofty, so I'm looking forward to it, but I also know that it's one I'm probably gonna need to really focus on. Okay, now we have like a big chunky book, okay? And this is because I love time travel. I love anything really to do with time in books or movies, and that is Stephen King's 11/22/63. This book is so heavy. It's so large, like, look at it. But I'm so intrigued by the premise, and I feel like the premise probably just scratches the surface, and there's so much more that actually goes on in this book. Like, how can there not be with how many pages there are? I mean, this is about, you know, the JFK assassination, and this man goes back in time to try to stop it, I believe, and then hijinks ensue. So I really can't wait for this one. Again, this is gonna be one where I have to just like sit down and commit. Like, it's reading time, this is what we're doing. And sometimes that's difficult for me for some reason to just commit to something, especially that's so many pages. So really want to get to this one. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but truly, I want to get to this book. And actually, I have not read a Stephen King novel yet. I've only read On Writing by Stephen King, so what a great first novel this would be for me to read by him, right? The next book that I have, I've also started. I'm only about 20% in, and that is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Oh, and I forgot to say, this next category is continuing in series. This is obviously highly anticipated by a lot of people. I've kind of been reading it slowly. For some reason, I just don't feel any sense of urgency to get through this in a day, which I feel like I prefer. I'm about 20% through. It's going fine. I'm curious to see how this one ends and, you know, where it leaves off and how it leads into the next 2 books, I believe, is what we're getting. This is part of the Empyrean series. Fourth Wing was the first book, Iron Flame was the second. Really enjoyed Fourth Wing. Iron Flame was fine. And yeah, so far I don't really have any solid opinions on this one, but for sure I'm gonna get through this and soon. So I almost have 2 checks off of this list so far, and we're feeling great about it. The next book on the list is finishing another duology, which would be fantastic, and that is Rebecca Ross's Ruthless Vows. Divine Rivals was the first book, and it left off definitely on a cliffhanger, and I really liked that book. I think I gave it a 4. And so this is finishing out the series. We're still following our 2 main characters, Iris and Roman. And the little blurb at the top of this one says, "Will their love end the war or break the world?" So we are in the middle of a war that had been going on in the first book. it still goes on in the second book, and I don't really want to say much about it because it's a second book in a series, so don't want to spoil anything, but I am hopeful about this one. I feel like maybe some people I've heard talk about it haven't liked this book as much as Divine Rivals, but we will see. Next we have An Unexpected Peril by Deanna Raybourn. This is a Veronica Speedwell novel. I think this is number 6. I think this is number 6. So again, don't want to give much of the premise, but we're following Veronica and Stoker, who were just thrown together in the first book, which is called A Curious Beginning. And I just love this series. I love the mysteries, I guess, but because I love a mystery, but the driving force for me in these books is Veronica and Stoker and their banter and their, you know, bickering. But it's like when they bicker, you know they're okay. And it's partly a romance, and that's really what keeps me coming back every time. And I just love this cover. It gives me the vibes I want. I'm very excited to get into this one and just to see what Veronica and Stoker get up to this time. The next second book in a series is The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, that I read The Shadow of the Gods, which is the first book in this series, which is the Bloodsworn Saga. And I loved that book. This is also Norse inspired. We have these gods who are being reawakened. You're following, I think it's 3 different perspectives, and it's one of those things that I love where in the first book you kind of jump back and forth between these perspectives, and then as the book goes on, they slowly are coming together and they unite at the end, and I just love when that happens. And so I'm excited to continue with this series. I also bought the 3rd book, so I'm ready once I read this one to go straight into that one and finish this series, so then I can move on to his other series, The Faithful and the Fallen. I'm really excited for that one too. So I would love to get to this one this year, and then hopefully the 3rd book as well. All right, so the next section of books are books I don't have either with me because I couldn't find them, or they're not out yet. The first one of those is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I have heard quite a bit about this book. I feel like so many people really love it. It feels cozy, it feels fantasy, there is romance that's a part of it to my understanding, and it's about Emily Wilde. She is writing, I think, her encyclopedia of fairies, and Wendell, I think, is the main male character. I don't know if they fall in love in the first book or if they're together, or if that is not until the 2nd or 3rd books. I'm not quite sure, but I'm really excited to test that one out as well, and hopefully it's another one of those where I am really hoping I like the first book so then I can continue, and the 3rd book I think is coming out this year, so looking forward to that one. The other book I own that I don't know where it is, that I don't have with me, is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This is the 2nd book in a series of kind of interconnected standalones, and again the 3rd one comes out this year, so I really want to get to the 2nd one before the 3rd one comes out. And Kennedy Ryan's romances, well, I've only read one, but the one that I've read was very emotional. It was a little bit sad. It was actually very sad. She has kind of a different tone to her romances than a lot of like the rom-coms that are out there, but I do tend to like the more emotional romances, or at least romances that talk about some deeper topics. So I think I'm gonna like that one. I liked the first one a lot, so the 2nd one should go well too. Another book I own that, again, I'm not quite sure where it is. I might have packed it up, but it's The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And again, I've had this book for I don't even know how long, and I feel like maybe I kind of missed the boat, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. We'll see if I like it. Maybe enough time has passed actually, and the hype has died down so much and people aren't really talking about it anymore, that I can really give it a fair shot rather than going in with all the hype surrounding it we'll see. Hopefully my expectations are at an appropriate level and I can just kind of be objective about it. The next book I own, there are so many of these and I really I'm not sure where they are, but the next one I own that I just don't have on me is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This will be my first Riley Sager, and I decided to pick this book up. I was at Powell's and they had it for cheaper than full price book. Hopefully this will be a good one to start with. I know different people have their opinions, different people have their favorite ones and the ones they think are really bad, and so I feel like I went with the one that matched the sort of vibe that I want, but it's hard to tell with a mystery thriller, so we'll see. I like the cover of this one, so if that tells me anything, hopefully this one turns out well for me, but I'm excited to read my first Riley Sager. I do also want to read some of the other really popular ones that people tend to like pretty broadly, so this will be a good first one to kind of test him out as an author. One more book that I've actually already read, so I have checked off one fully from this list already, and I'm on my way to 2 more, Heartless Hunter and Onyx Storm. So we're doing great so far. It's February, and I think that means I'm on track. But the one that I've already read is, I just said, the next book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. That one is called, let me see if I can think of the name. The first one was The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then we had Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I also read the novella that came in between, Six Scorched Roses. I haven't yet read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, but that's not fully, I believe it takes place in the same world, but it's not fully in the series. Like, you don't have to read it in that order. I remembered. It's called The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, and I liked this book just fine. Like, I wanted to like it because I loved the first duology or duet so much in the series. I'm definitely going to continue in the series. It's Misha's story, and I like her as a character. For some reason, it was just so hard for me to picture any of the settings, like anywhere they were in the whole entire book. It just, in my mind, it felt like they were just like floating in space. I could hardly picture anything at all, and maybe that's my fault and like my brain's fault, but it did impact the reading experience. But I am going to continue, and I'm excited to see where Misha's story ends and how, you know, they get out of the situation they were left with at the end of the book. I checked that one off my list though I do think the next one comes out this year, so maybe I'll add that to the list, or I'll just be satisfied with the fact that I've read this one. Finally, we have books that are not yet out. The first one is All the Way Gone by Joanna Schaffhausen. This is the next book in a series that is just a mystery series. It's following Annalisa Vega, who is a detective. She started out as a cop in the first book, and she is now a detective. And it's one of those mystery series where each book has a separate mystery, but there is an overarching sort of broader mystery that is more personal to the main character and that she's working through. It comes up in every single book. I'm excited to read the next one. I do think also another one comes out this year, so I'm excited to continue with that series. And then we have Done and Dusted. This series was very popular, I think especially last year. I saw so many people reading all 3 of the books that are out so far, and I think someone gave me the 3rd book, and so I feel like I need to read the first book and then the second book, and then I can get to the one that I actually own. But I think, have Done and Dusted on my Kindle, and this is just a cowboy romance. I hear it's a very fun time, and I just feel like I need to be a part of the conversation and know what's going on. And I love a cowboy, and I love a romance, so this should be a success for me. I'm very hopeful. Then we have Wild Side by Elsie Silver. The first 2 books in this series are also Wild something. One of them is Wild Eyes. but I can't remember what the other one is, but I'll pop it right here. These books were just exactly what I needed to read at the time that I read them. They are just silly little romances. The men in these books are all billionaires, I think, and normally, honestly, I cringe when I think about a billionaire romance. I don't know why, but somehow in these it's done in a way that I don't mind and I prefer it, actually. And maybe it's because they're like out on a ranch somewhere and they just happen to have a lot of money. Anyway, I will be reading the third book and I am excited to do so. One thing I will say about these books is that I do not like the spicy scenes. I think all of the characters feel identical as soon as one of those scenes begins, and the language is just all the same that they all use, and I'm like, how is that possible that they all speak exactly the same? Anyway, and finally, we have two romances from probably my two favorite romance authors. We have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I think that the premise of this book is that the main female character and the main male character have a date, but then for some reason, I think because her life is like too complicated at the moment, like she just can't handle a relationship for the time being, and so she tells him that, and then somehow obviously they're going to be brought back together. So to be quite honest, I don't really care what the premise is. I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna read it and I'm probably gonna love it. So I truly can't wait for that one. And last but certainly not least, we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, my favorite romance author. I've loved every single one of her books and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. This one is about two writers and they each have the chance to write the story of this woman who I think was an author herself. They each have to go to her and have sort of a trial period, I'm gathering. I read the premise, but like, again, it honestly doesn't matter what the plot is. I have such faith that I'm going to eat it up. Truly, Emily Henry's books are the ones that I will read the day it comes out. I will read it physically and I will usually listen as well because Julia Whelan narrates the audiobooks, and so it's just, both are usually 10 out of 10 experiences, and so you could say I'm highly anticipating this book. Honestly, can't wait. So those are the 25 books that I am hoping to read this year in 2025. Please let me know what you are putting at the very top of your list to read this year, what you hope to get done, whether it's 25 books or one book. I would love to know, and I will talk to you in a video coming very soon. Bye!